Chapter 26. Boat tours resumed 2 weeks after they had been shut down. The official explanation was mechanical failure that had been quickly diagnosed and fixed. The mystery of the non-working talents was never officially addressed, and so began the newest round of haunted jungle stories to scare the gullible. To my eternal relief and excitement, for the last weekend of July, all my classes were mostly homework-free. I suppose they knew some students would get overwhelmed with the work and made sure to give us at least a couple days of free time to do the touristy things we all wanted to do. I immediately signed up for the boat tour. Tiffany signed up with me and invited Leona to join us, so it became a group outing. Tiffany jokingly suggested I invite Christoph, but my glare had her taking back the suggestion through gales of laughter. Though I'd never found out why he decided to help me that day, or how he'd known I had even chosen to research Kedisuru, I had managed to thank him and get a head nod in return, sans snarky comment. I considered it a positive improvement in our non-existent friendship. I gave Aaron a call Friday night and was pleased when he answered the phone. I hadn't been able to talk to him at all that week, though I'd left messages and he'd sent back texts when he got them. He always said he didn't call because he didn't want to disturb me when I was working so hard, and no matter how many times I tried to tell him it wouldn't be a problem, he insisted on only talking when I called him. "Hey Z," he greeted me. "How's life treating you?" "Pretty good right now, actually. For the first time all month, I don't have any homework and I get the entire weekend to lounge about and do touristy things." He chuckled. "I can't imagine you doing any lounging when there's so much you want to see. Are you planning on going to the museum?" "One of my classes actually has a field trip there next week, so I don't even have to find time out of my hectic schedule for it. But I've signed up for the boat cruise tomorrow. Tiffany and her new girlfriend, Leona, are coming with me." "Ah, so they finally got together?" he asked. I'd been keeping him in the loop on my new friends, since I didn't have much else to talk about besides homework and speeches. "Not officially," I snickered, "but it's obvious they're into each other." "And what about you? Meet any cute Brazilian guys yet?" I groaned. "Oh gods, no. I haven't spent more than 6 hours outside this room unless I'm in class, I swear. But enough complaining. How's it going on your end? How are the cats?" "I think they miss you," he said. "If I didn't know cats usually sleep like 16 hours a day, I'd swear they were moping around all the time. At least the times they're not tearing across the house. I'll probably miss them when you get back, though. I can see why you like having pets. You never feel completely alone with them around." "I'm glad they're keeping you company," I said, grateful that he still didn't regret his decision to house them for me while I was away. "Anything else exciting happening?" "Well," he said slowly, "I can't say what happened for certain yet, but I did the first test run of my time travel device. Granted, it's not actually traveling backwards through time yet, but I've managed to replicate some variation of transportation, it seems." "Wow, that's amazing," I said. "Don't get too excited. All I know for certain is that it disappeared for about 2 minutes when I turned on the device and activated my controller. I still have to figure out how to invert the polarity of the matter inside the Magicus shield, and that's a whole other problem I don't know is even physically possible to do. And I haven't figured out if I need entangled magicals, or if the inversion alone will be enough." He trailed off in thought, so I jumped back in. "But it did something, which is better than the nothing that's happened before. Don't sell yourself short. Go buy yourself an ice cream cone for me." He laughed, which was the reaction I was hoping for. "Only if you pay me back later." I laughed too and agreed to the absurd deal. We continued talking for a while more before I had to beg off to go to bed. I slept deeply and restfully, unburdened by the stress of schoolwork for the first time all month. I woke up the next morning feeling free and refreshed. I tried not to focus on the fact that it was only going to last 2 days, and instead let myself fly high on the knowledge that I had 2 days to do whatever I wanted during my first trip to a foreign country. Tiffany seemed happy enough to be dragged along with me that day. We started by getting some authentic local cuisine for breakfast, followed by a mostly window shopping stroll down one of their commercial streets. We had fun trying on clothes and sifting through thrift stores for inexpensive, unique items we wouldn't be able to find at home. including several leftover souvenirs from the Bumamwel Boy festival that had ended the day we'd arrived. I even dragged her into a used bookstore and found myself several collections of fairy tales and folklore in Portuguese. During our late lunch, I tried to talk her into visiting the Gem Museum, but she complained that she was tired from all the walking we'd already done that day and was ready to head back to campus for a break before our cruise that evening. I got her to consider going to the museum the next day, but I had a feeling she wasn't really into that kind of thing. But unlike her, I hadn't had free time on the weekends to explore, and I wasn't ready to go back to the school, or, as I thought of it at that point, prison, quite yet. So I walked her back to campus, but took my own books down to the beach to read. It had been a clear day, so I was unsurprised to see people splashing in the river and sunbathing on the shore at the school's private beach. A lot of people. Too many people. I changed my choice of venue and was able to find an empty picnic table under a tree in a relatively quiet location at the adjoining public park. I couldn't help smiling to myself as I sat down, remembering Aaron say he couldn't imagine me lounging around this weekend. This'll show him, I thought. Tiffany found me there 2 or 3 hours later, I hadn't been keeping track of the time, to tell me it was almost time for us to leave for the marina where we'd catch our boat for the tour. I packed my books in one of the 2 bags of purchases I had with me and headed back to the dorms to put my stuff away. We met up with Leona at the campus entrance where we and 24 other people caught the bus that would take us to the docks. The boat we were ushered onto looked more like a small cruise ship than the skimpy ferry I was expecting. With 2 stories and large enough to host a decent-sized wedding party, it showcased a large paddle wheel in the back and panoramic viewing balconies around both floors. There were about 30 people on the ship who weren't from our school and 1 million who were. Tourists, students from other schools, or just locals interested in the ride, I suggested. I heard ticket sales have skyrocketed in the last week, Tiffany gossiped. People aren't convinced that what happened a couple weeks ago was actually mechanical failure. And there are so many superstitions in the city, living so close to a magic zone and all. Some of them think the river is haunted or that it's a Yedramora curse and are going to try to appease the angry spirits. See all the packages those people are carrying? Gifts to the magic creatures that they'll drop in the waters at the far end of the ride. I looked to where she was gesturing to see a small group of oddly dressed people carrying a number of gift-wrapped bags. Or they're having a dress-up party or something, Leona said pragmatically. Hey, Tiffany said and shoved at her shoulder playfully. Where did you hear all that? I asked her. Oh, you know, around. She waved her hand in the general direction of the city. At my skeptical look, she grinned. There's a lot that goes on in the telepathic community that you people have no idea about. Leona rolled her eyes. If all I'd hear is that kind of gossip, I'm glad I'm not part of it. I giggled as Tiffany shoved her again. As the boat started up, a voice sounded through the large interior space at the bottom deck where we were, and, I assumed, the open upper deck. Welcome to the Furo Santa Maria cruise and tour, it said in Portuguese. Refreshments are available downstairs. Alcoholic beverages require identification before purchase. A guided tour will be offered on the top deck during the ride. The cruise will be 3 hours round trip. Please enjoy your ride. Leona had been watching us intently as the announcement was made. I could understand it easily myself, but it was obvious Tiffany was concentrating harder in order to follow it. What did it say? Leona asked when the speech was over. But before either of us could answer, it began again, this time in English. I grinned and pointed overhead. That, I mouthed. Despite its large size and old-school paddle wheel, the boat rapidly picked up speed as it left the marina. The wheel was lifted out of the water, and a nearly silent Magitech engine took over the propulsion as we made our way down the arterial waterways to the main river as fast as a speedboat. Tiffany grinned at the astonishment that I knew was written across my face. I didn't know this thing could move so fast, I said. Crazy things they can do here where magic always works, huh? I nodded. We got some non-alcoholic drinks and headed upstairs. There was very little seating space on the top deck, so the 3 of us chose standing spots at the railing, watching the foliage of the nearby shore pass us. At one point, Tiffany talked the 2 of us into posing for a group photo. Backs to the trees, drinks held up in salute, while she aimed her phone's camera at the 3 of us and shouted, Smile! As the boat slowed to a more leisurely pace, a woman in a ship's employee uniform walked to the front of the deck and turned to look at everyone there. Hola, hello, she greeted us, first in Portuguese, then in heavily accented English. She had a small microphone looped over her ear. The sound was loud enough to carry over all the people gathered, but not so loud as to disturb anybody else. My name is Cristina. I will be your tour guide today. Welcome to the Furo Santa Maria. Wasting no time, she jumped into facts and figures about the river we were now paddling slowly down. It quickly became apparent that she wasn't just some hired help reciting a memorized tour book. She was extremely knowledgeable about all aspects of the Amazon, from its plants to animals to how the strange, half-magic atmosphere affected all aspects of life in the area. Someone might point out a brightly colored flower or a startled flock of birds scattering from the treetops, and Christina would be able to tell us whatever we wanted to know about it. She was very friendly and helpful, if a little difficult to understand sometimes. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Leona looking at her phone curiously. I elbowed Tiffany to get her attention and nodded towards our friend. What's up? She asked Leona softly. It's supposed to be a 3-hour tour, right? Yeah. It's been over an hour and a half since we left Belém. Shouldn't we have turned around by now? Tiffany shrugged. Maybe they're running behind schedule or something. Maybe, but... Tiffany pulled her phone out of her hands and clicked the screen off before sliding it into a pocket of Leona's shorts. Don't worry so much. Enjoy the extra time, unless you're in a hurry to be somewhere else. I'm not, she smiled charmingly at Tiffany. Nowhere except with you. Oh my God, I groaned. Are you two going to actually officially hook up yet? Tiffany laughed and Leona blushed. If she ever gets the nerve to ask me, we will, Tiffany teased her. You could always ask me, she countered. Yeah, but it's more fun to watch you be all uncomfortable doing it. I rolled my eyes. Hey, Leona, want to go out with Tiffany? Yeah, great. Tiffany, she wants to go out with you. Would you like that? Awesome. You two are officially a couple now. Congratulations. Tiffany barked out a laugh, but caught herself quickly, not wanting to disturb the other tourists. That takes all the fun out of it, she finally said. I grinned. Everyone knows you're together except you. Now you do, too. The boat, which wasn't going very fast in the first place, began to slow down and headed closer to shore, I assumed in preparation to make a wide turn. See, Tiffany said triumphantly, we're heading back now. The boat stopped. Confused murmuring began floating up from all around us. Christina tried to say something, but her microphone wasn't working anymore. Please stay calm, I heard her shout over the quiet muttering. Everything will be fine. I will go speak with the captain to find out what is the problem. She walked to the back of the deck where the captain's control room was located. I began hearing words like fantasma, assombrada, and hiedra from the people around us. I think Tiffany was telling the truth earlier when she said these people thought there was a curse on the river, I said uneasily. I told you so, Tiffany replied, but without much gusto. She was obviously as unsettled as many of the people around us. Technical malfunction? Leona muttered. My ass. Tiffany finished the thought for her. Leona gave a small smile. Even if there's something unexplained happening, remember that the last crews that ran into trouble came back just fine. So give it time. I'm sure they know what to do. I looked up to the sky, which was still a clear blue. The tour was supposed to return to Belém around 6 o'clock, which meant we still had at least 2 hours of daylight left, even if we were running late. Christina returned shortly. The captain asked that everyone go downstairs, please. She spoke loudly so that everyone would hear. The intercoms are not working, and he would like to address everybody. She continued on her way around the upper balcony, stopping only long enough to tell the small groups of people scattered about to go to the meeting. Tiffany, Leona, and I joined the stream of people heading downstairs. The near 70 people were all gathered together within 5 minutes. With that many people in one place, it was a stuffy room despite its large size. Confused and worried muttering was filling the air. The anxiety of everyone on board was palpable. Attention, everyone! The captain called out loudly in English. The conversations all halted almost simultaneously. The boat is having some minor technical issues. You may know that something similar happened 2 weeks ago. We thought the problem was fixed, but apparently we missed something." I took several deep breaths. The air really was quite humid and stale inside. I began feeling lightheaded and glanced first at the windows, which were all closed for some reason, then at my friends. "Got anything to drink?" I whispered. Tiffany shook her head and Leona held up her empty hands. We'd all finished our drinks a while ago and hadn't gotten new ones. "The boat always has an engineer on board in case of breakdowns, and he is looking for the issue right now. There are also communication posts on the shore, so we have sent someone to contact the nearest city to let them know of our problems and ask for help. I reassure you that everything will be fine. We are always prepared for situations such as this." A sudden thump in the back of the room made me jump. I turned around quickly, perhaps too quickly, because I suddenly found myself on the floor, the room spinning around me as I blacked out.